Hey guys, what's up? Hello and welcome to my lifting series. This is week 3, day 6 of my MyoMax training program. If you guys want it for yourselves, it's $10 in the description. But honestly, it's not needed at all because I record every single set and rep that I do. And if I don't record it, then I tell you guys exactly what I'm going to be doing. This is really a journey, not only to make me the best athlete and lifter that I possibly can, but to educate you guys, provide some entertainment and some insights along the way. So it's kind of like, I like to think of it as a two-way street where we're growing stronger and becoming bigger and becoming the best version of ourselves together. Since this is week 3, day 6, this is an accessory day. So I'm mainly hitting shoulders and arms, and I believe there's some abs at the end. I always get confused and I say the wrong thing because abs and calves rotate in my program. Today I'm starting with the seated shoulder press, and I really like this because you're so stable and locked into place that you can just focus on your deltoids. And of course, I love including a shoulder press variant in my program, in any of my programs, just because I think that shoulders are a really underappreciated muscle group that people tend to only do flies with. Like, people only seem to do side lateral flies. They skip their rear delts for flies, and then they skip their front delts for flies, which is totally fine, but they're accruing all their shoulder volume just from their bench pressing or incline pressing. But I like to really optimize it, and I'm kind of a perfectionist, and therefore I'm adding in some additional shoulder stimulus. But anyway, I'm going up 5 pounds on each dumbbell from 65 to 70. Last time I think I got 3 sets of 10 with 65. So we're gonna try our best to match that. 70 is pretty heavy though for shoulder press, so we'll just see how it goes. Okay, maybe I misspoke. Maybe I only got 8 last time. I don't know. The beautiful thing about having a program and having Google Docs on my phone is that I can just pull it up at any time and look at what I did last week, so that next time I can try and beat it in whatever capacity that I can. Not always can I beat it in terms of weight, but more often than not, I can squeeze out either an additional half rep or full rep, or increase my tempo, optimize my tempo or something along those lines. Progressive overload comes in many facets. I feel like people tend to just think of progressive overload as adding weight to the bar, weight to the dumbbell, weight to the machine, whatever it may be. But it's just improving some sort of variable over time. It could even be just training a muscle group more often, or adding more sets. So anyway, I'm happy with that first set. 70 for 8 is pretty solid in my book. I don't think that might be an all-time PR for me. I used to do a lot of shoulder training and I got pretty strong at it. I know that I used to be able to do 70 for 6 or 7. I don't know about 8 though. So, topic that I think about quite often is the idea of what time of day should you optimally be training, what time of day is going to be best for you. And I think it ultimately just comes down to when are your energy levels the highest? When can you have the most effort and use the most effort in your training? Because ultimately intensity is very important. So if you're choosing to go at the end of a long day at work, and you haven't eaten that much, and you're tired, and it's just not a good time to go, then yes, I mean, showing up is better than nothing, but you know that your performance is gonna be not nearly as good as it could be if you went when you were fresher. And that's, if you're facing that type of situation more often than not, time and time again, then maybe consider waking up earlier and going to the gym before work. I ultimately think that going to the gym before you have a long shift at work is going to be much better, because if you wait until after, your workout is not going to be as good. I'm sorry to say. But that's kind of something that I'm facing right now. Every Saturday, every day 6 of each week, I'm going after a long shift at work, and I'm always a little bit more gassed, even if it's like not that difficult of a shift. I'm still on my feet all day. I'm not sitting down. And while you may not think that just being on your feet is going to mess with your session, you'd be surprised how many things can mess with your gym session. Okay, let's try and get 8 again. I kind of like doing the shoulder press in this area. If you guys have been following along, you'll know that I usually do it next to the cable machine, which is great too, because they're more isolated. But over here, I actually have a mirror. And while you see people look in the mirror all the time, and maybe you think they're a little vain because they're checking out their biceps or whatever while they're doing curls. I think that for more technical lifts, it can come in handy because you can actually be watching your form in real time, making sure that you're symmetrical. And that's what I'm doing, making sure that I'm symmetrical and that I'm doing it slow and controlled. Versus, if you don't have a mirror and you never record yourself or you don't have anybody else's feedback, you could totally have like one elbow up here and then one, like, this is an exaggeration, but the concept holds true. I see a lot of people online preaching this particular form cue with the shoulder press, and that's to bring your elbows in a little bit because it supposedly takes some pressure off of the rotator cuff and off of like the potential injury risk associated with the delts. And obviously, like, the delts are one of the ball and socket joints of the human body, and whenever you have that level of mobility, you're also sacrificing some stability, and therefore you are more prone to injury overall. But I think that if you're trying to get the most like muscle activation and gains out of your like mid and rear delt when you're doing a shoulder press, then actually the further back you go will put them at a greater line of pull and a greater stretch and a better contraction. So the further up you are, the more upper, like the clavicular head of the chest you're gonna get, and the more front delt. The further back you go, that's gonna get more like side delt and stuff. And that's why you see people doing like behind the neck presses and stuff. So I think that if it doesn't hurt your shoulder, then that may be the way to go, to have to be further back. If it is, totally stick to this variation. For me, I've never really had any shoulder problems. I'm always like really diligent with my form and very concrete with it. So I'm doing like all the way back here because I feel it more on my side delt. It's gonna be something we're gonna have to play around with it for yourself and see what works best for you. But I think that having that knowledge of, where you're gonna press from and where it activates can come in handy when you're, trying to work on a weak point, or you're just trying to get the most out of your training, or, this or that. So, all right, let's get the third set done. That was a really challenging last rep, but ultimately that is what you want. You want the last rep to be a struggle. If the last rep doesn't look like a struggle, you're not trying hard enough. Something that I think that every lifter ultimately struggles with at least once or twice is the idea of like keeping their consistency and their motivation high. Because when you're running into like constant plateaus in and outside of the gym. Say you can't get the scale to budge. Say you can't really gain much weight on the given lifts that you're really prioritizing. Say you keep missing days for like outside sources, and it's really impacting how much progress you make. Say you can't actually recover in the gym. If you struggle with any of those or things related and more, then staying consistent and keeping that motivation high can be really, really challenging. But I think you guys just need to be focusing on the little wins in that case, because honestly, like any type of win can be celebrated. Oh, you made it 4 days in a row. Fantastic. Oh, you added 2.5 pounds to your bench press. It may not be as much as you wanted, but you still added it. You really got to look for the little wins and learn to celebrate those just as much as the big ones, I think. Because ultimately, we got to be keeping this journey fresh and exciting and reinvigorated all the time, or else it's just going to feel like a chore. And that's the last thing that you want. You don't want lifting to feel like a chore if you're really passionate about it. You don't want anything that you're passionate about to feel like a chore. So that's where kind of shifting that mindset is going to be your best friend. Okay, we're doing some dumbbell incline bicep curls next. And I've mentioned how much I love this endlessly. So if you guys are curious about what I think about it, you can just check out some of my previous videos, but I'll keep it short. I love this movement because it provides such a great stretch, and a stretch is really important since you're getting humeral extension. Any humeral extension is gonna ultimately tug on your biceps and get that stretch. So I'm gonna be going for as many as I can with strict form, keeping the weight the same at 240s. And then once I can't do any bilaterally, I'm gonna swap to unilaterally. So one arm at a time. And we're gonna go to failure with that as well. So let's just get into it, shall we? Doing 3 sets, which is a lot for this, I think. Okay, so I just ended up matching exactly what I got last time. Last time I got 8 reps, and then I did 3 on each arm for that unilateral variant. So, if you can't beat it, then match it. That's how I feel about that. So I'll take it. Maybe next time I'll try going up, but honestly, like my biceps get so much volume. Oh shit. I keep forgetting to do forearms. I need to do some forearms. I like to superset the two and I keep forgetting, which is not good. Well, this exercise is very sound scientifically wise. Like, it has the stretch. This is the dumbbell incline bicep curl. While it has the stretch, it has the humeral extension. It's very like, you can get each rep at the same time. You can get some supination at the top for the peak contraction. It's very like great on paper. I wouldn't say that every single exercise in your arsenal has to meet all of the scientific criteria that you may or may not want from an exercise. Sometimes if an exercise just feels good to you, that's all that should matter. You don't have to check every single box every single time in order for you to do a lift. If you love a lift, but maybe it doesn't do like one of the functions of a muscle, or doesn't put the muscle under stretch at any point, you still give it a go, And especially for like the long haul, the long term, this lifting is a lifelong endeavor. You're not going to be doing the same like pitch perfect, scientifically based exercises till the day you die, because eventually you're going to stall and going to have to change things up just so that your body can adapt to a new stimulus. And therefore, you're going to need to do some suboptimal exercises from time to time, I'd reckon. Like after this program, I'm going to be swapping these out and doing some other different bicep curl. And then I might rotate them back in, All right, let's do some forearms. I fucking forgot to do it on the second set again. I honestly need to, that was so phoned in. I need to start doing less weight on the forearms because I can't do many repetitions with 40s, especially after I do a set of biceps, especially an intense set like that. So I'm gonna have to drop down the weight. And this is gonna be something where, in the beginning of the video, I said, the series is for both of us. So I can improve and then you guys can learn new things. And this is something where I need to improve upon. I need to start training forearms more directly with more of an emphasis and vigor, and just start treating it like I treat the biceps too. I don't think that any muscle group should be left out in that regard. So next time I'll have a second pair of like 20s or 10s or something. Honestly, like the weight doesn't matter that much. All that matters is that I'm taking my sets to failure. So next up, I'm moving on to some cable side lateral raises to really focus in on that lateral head of the deltoid, because I ultimately think that head is like the most desirable one, because that's the one that's responsible for widening your shoulder girdle and making that appearance of width, which I think is just badass. So I'm training that with some extra volume. Then we're supersetting that with some cable pushdowns. Cable pushdowns are just such a tried and true exercise because it doesn't overly fatigue your recoverability for any section of your workout. I mean, it really doesn't mess you up, so why not hit it, but it gets like a ton of extra tricep volume, which I think is important, especially because I think that arms should have a lot of volume if you want them to grow. Of course, you can grow any muscle with low volume if that's in the cards for you, but for the vast majority of people, I think they need a lot of volume. I've been sticking to this weight for my cable lateral raises for almost since the beginning of this program. And it's for good reason, It's just heavy. So I'm not gonna increase it until it gets easier. All right. Now I did end up going up on the cable push down, the tricep push down. And just because this one has still been feeling pretty doable. And I mentioned it before, but I love using some sort of bar, preferably an easy bar. It has the most stability built into it. Versus if you're doing a rope, you're inherently less stable. And the action of just going down like this, I just lose so much power and strength output doing that. So I prefer something that I can really focus on just using my triceps and not have to worry about them wobbliness or any weird stuff. Not saying that the rope is bad by any means. It's great, and that used to be my preferred choice. You know, maybe I'll go back to it one day, but for now, this is my favorite. Shit. I think the key component of this particular lift is to not exaggerate the movement of your elbows too much. You kind of want to keep them as stationary as you possibly can and just focus on the elbow extension. If you're doing all sorts of this movement while you're lifting it, that's going to be using your lats, because your lats, one of the functions is humeral extension. So bring your humerus down like this. So when you're doing that, using some lats in there, and this is a movement where we're trying our best to just use our triceps, just isolate those triceps. And therefore, I think that just keeping your elbow straight and just going like that, because that's ultimately the function of the tricep, is to just extend the elbow joint like that. So if you can keep it, the more in place you can keep it, the better, is what I'm trying to say. Now, I know that on that last set, I did end up going like this a little bit, but that's just because it was so damn heavy. And, you know, once you get heavier and heavier, there is going to be some form sacrifice in the end. I mean, that's just how it goes, guys. When people are deadlifting their one rep, absolutely like 10 RPE max, there's a little bit of form breakdown, even though they try their best to keep it as strict as possible. I'm not saying that this is the same exact scenario, but I'm saying that once it gets really heavy, there's a little bit of form breakdown, but I'm keeping it under control. That's what's really important. Literally my only issue with the tricep cable push down is the fact that you're not getting that great of a stretch on the triceps. Yes, you're still kind of getting one once your elbow is fully flexed. However, when your humerus is in flexion above your head like this, and you have your elbow flexed, that's going to provide the greatest stretch. It just has to do with how the muscle originates and inserts. But that being said, I mean, like I talked about earlier, just because something like scientifically checks all of the boxes that you want doesn't mean that that's like the end all be all exercise. Having some variety included in your workouts is equally important, I think. So that's why I do the push downs for that peak contraction. Then I also do some over the head stuff as well for that peak stretch. Anyway, something that I could probably start rotating out is like start doing more dumbbell lateral raises instead of strictly cable and machine, because this program doesn't have any dumbbells. That's something that I didn't really think about, and something that I'll do next time, include some dumbbell work. we all have that one good side that's a little bit stronger, and I think it's typically whichever side is your dominant side. Like, I'm right-handed, and therefore my right side seems to be a little bit stronger, at least for my upper body, and therefore like that form felt more locked in, felt easier to get to that breaking point, etc., etc. Something that I just think is I think that's kind of inevitable, unless you're ambidextrous and you equally use both hands and arms. But the vast majority of us are not, so. Yeah, I'm trying to keep my elbow in place as much as I can. Ooh. All right, let's just go ahead and cut to set number 3, shall we? It's especially something that I'm gonna have to end up doing, because by week 9 we're doing 22 sets per body part, with select body parts doing like upwards of 26, 27 sets for that week, which is just bananas. And then after that, obviously, there's gonna be a deload in place, because I'm gonna need some extra recovery time. And if you're following along, so are you, unless you're just on all the tren, all the anabolics. So where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so later on, like by week 9 at the very latest, I'm gonna try, if I keep talking in between every single set, then that workout is gonna end up being like 3 hours long. So I'll have to start just cutting to my sets to save you guys some time. But I mean, if you guys prefer me talking, then let me know in the comments down below. But I think the vast majority of you guys will like it kind of speed around a little bit. All right, let's crush this last superset, shall we? If you guys are trying to avoid one arm being stronger, then I suggest doing some unilateral movements and beginning with the less dominant arm. Fuck, I lost my count. I'll just go to failure. And call it good. It's gonna have to be something that I work on. I'm kind of starting to deploy some unnecessary body language while doing those lateral raises. Kind of going like this a little bit, using some hips. And like I said, with triceps, the same logic applies to lateral raises. You want to really try and hone in on the muscle group that you're targeting and try and keep that form as strict as possible, at least for movements like this. If your goal is hypertrophy, of course, which I think if you're watching this video, it probably is, since this is a hypertrophy lifting series at the moment, at least. The topic of supplements is one that's kind of murky waters for most beginner lifters, or just people trying to get healthy in general, because there's so much misinformation out there and so many like scummy companies trying to steal your money by making outrageous claims. Or, you know, a lot of them, they'll like list their ingredients, but the actual percentage of certain ingredients are so low, and they only include like 1% of something just so that they can put it on the background of the label. So you guys really need to be cautious about what you're buying. But I think that you should really only go for the tried and true supplements, because a lot of like the new wave supplements that come out, they're all these new things are proven about it, like testosterone, for example. That was a huge deal, and so many people bought it, and it was flying off the shelves. And then like a year or something later, they found out that it's totally bunk and doesn't cause any muscle growth or like any health benefits almost whatsoever. So I think that you really got to go for the stuff that's been around for a while. It's almost like buying Bitcoin versus buying Dogecoin or something. The one may be like a newer, like hip thing, but ultimately it's that tried and true one that's going to be the best bang for your buck. So in terms of supplements, creatine obviously is a fantastic one. It's like the most researched supplement on the face of the earth at this point. It's good for strength gain, muscle gain. It increases the water inside of your intramuscular cells, water weight, so it actually gives you the appearance of looking larger. Then it's also good for brain health and neuroplasticity and all this shit. Pardon my language. Beyond that, I think that like caffeine is a great performance enhancer, and then protein powder can be a great supplement if you are having trouble eating enough protein. And then beyond those big three, I think the other stuff is just kind of like pennies on the dollar, and it's really just if you're deficient in things. If you're not eating enough fish, supplement with fish oil. If you're not getting enough sunlight, supplement with vitamin D3, maybe some K2 in there too. So I think that a good multivitamin goes a long way. And then on top of that, this is what I do. I have a multivitamin, I have some fish oil, I have some vitamin D3, K2, and then I have creatine and some protein powder. I believe that that's pretty much everything I take every day. Oh, then some magnesium, because magnesium is a natural muscular relaxer, which is great for just after the gym. I'm trying to get into a more relaxed mode, and just shutting these puppies off a little bit it can go a long way. So I just thought that I'd run that by you guys. Anyway, next up, I am doing, sorry about that. I'm doing some curls, some cable curls and some unilateral standing tricep extensions. So let's get into it. I'm going up on the cable curl, keeping the other one the same. Dang. Honestly, I feel like I could have gotten a couple more, but this bar is so uncomfortable for cable curls because it doesn't rotate at all. So it's just like my skin having that friction and turning on the bar. I just feel super uncomfortable. I'm only doing 2 sets here, so I'm not going to worry about it too much, but next time I'll make sure I get a different bar. Yeah, that's one arm down, just one more to go. With these, for the reasons that I mentioned earlier in the video, I am ensuring that I'm getting that full elbow flexion. So I'm getting that complete stretch in the triceps, and I'm actually holding it there for a second to make sure, because that's the real benefit of an exercise like this. So don't shortchange yourselves, guys. I'm telling you. Six. Finish this sucker up, shall we? Oh, sorry guys. All right, guys, that's going to conclude everything that I filmed for this particular day. All that I have left are 3 sets of the standing machine calf raise and 3 sets of the seated machine calf raise, which I'm just going to do off camera just because it's calves. Let me know if you guys want me to film them, but I don't feel like it's super entertaining, and it's kind of hard to get that like face shot, body shot, and the calf shot, since, you know, I'm working out down here, but I'm talking up here. It's hard to get both without a camera crew, and it's just me doing this, guys. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This concludes week 3. So we're officially a third of the way there. Like I said, I mean, MyoMax is a 9-week program, so we only got 6 more weeks to go. But so far, while it has been challenging, it's been a great experience. So I'll see you guys on Monday for week 4, day 1. See you guys later. Bye.